We'll begin here in Africa, where anti-government protests returned to the streets in Kenya on Thursday, resulting in injuries and more than 170 arrests. The demonstrations, though smaller in scale than previous ones, were marked by youthful protesters who marched through streets in 6 of Kenya's 47 counties, chanting anti-government slogans and displaying placards with various messages. In the Kenyan capital, Nairobi, normal business was disrupted in the central business district as shops remained closed and office workers avoided the area. Public transport was largely halted as minibus operators known as matatas withdrew their vehicles for safety reasons. Security officers engaged in running battles with protesters, using tear gas and rubber bullets to disperse them. There are also reports of live ammunition being used by police. Well, let's get some more perspective to this. A visionary was TCM Africa and alumnus of African Liberty Writing Fellowship, Jamlek Kogi, joins me from Kenya to discuss the resurgence of anti-government protests in the country. Good to have you join us on World Now. The protests are back. Just give us a situation report, really, from Kenya on this developing story.
Thank you for having me this evening. The situation in Kenya, yesterday we witnessed a relatively not as aggressive protest as has been the case before. Unfortunately, the police still are using excessive force, tear gassing protesters who are not armed, paralyzing of transport, restrictions on who was getting to the capital city of Kenya, that is Nairobi, businesses opting to close down to avoid any instance of looting. So there has been a situation of almost every other Tuesday, although there had been a calm down before, that there is no business going on, especially in the city of Nairobi. But relatively, there was a lower number of protesters in the capital city of Nairobi yesterday, but today is relatively calm.
All right. We have seen some action on the part of President Ruto. We have seen him scrapping the planned tax hikes. We've heard about him overhauling his cabinet. But these protests remain. What do you think he's not doing right? Well,
the president, that is Dr. Ruto, may have listened to some of the concerns by the protesters who are mostly Gen Z and millennials. That, for example, reorganizing the cabinet. However, what has brought the emergence of the protest is he has not really fully listened to what the Gen Z's voice was about, as much as the Finance Bill 2024 was overhauled and dropped. There was a need to really bring in a fresh cabinet, a cabinet that has not been dogged by issues such as corruption. But what you have seen is a lot of the older members of cabinet have come back, especially in areas that Kenyans felt those cabinet secretaries should not have been reappointed, such as the cabinet secretary that was in charge of the police, Ministry of Interior. He is back at the same docket. Another cabinet secretary in the space of transport and infrastructure, he has been sneaked to be in charge of youth affairs. So the president seems to find a way to have his own way, and that is one of the areas that has really brought the emergence of the protests. The Gen Z also had asked a lean cabinet, which has not been the case. They had asked really reorganization and reducing most of the wastages in the public sector. So these are some of the concerns that have really brought back the protest. But again, with the reduction of this protest is because most of the protesters were leaning to a certain political party, especially in the opposition. And the president has gone on to appoint members of opposition, especially the leading party in the opposition coalition, Azimio, the party being ODM. So with that, many people have felt, or the Gen Zs who are leaning in with, for this political party, they felt that some of their members have been appointed to government, and there is no need for further protests. So that has been the case, whereby you find in other cities apart from Nairobi, there has been no protest, especially in the city of Mombasa and the city of Kisumu, where members of oppositions have been brought to the government by the president.
You know, Mr. Kogi, one of the concerns has been the probability of the protest being hijacked. As at Wednesday, the police chief was talking about this, you know, the fact that this could happen and the need for people to, you know, just stay back. What do you say about the handling of the protest, and what do you think should be done now, I mean, in the face of the reality, to de-escalate tensions and restore peace in Kenya?
Well, thank you for that question. Yeah, there has been talk that the protests had been hijacked, the protests had been sponsored. My two quick take on this is, one, there were real issues, and those issues are still there. There were issues that the public felt need to be addressed, like the wanton corruption, lack of job opportunities for young people, and even other people, tax environment being not conducive for the corporate world, many organizations shutting. So indeed there were real issues, but the issue of sponsorship, it was not quite a weight issue in this case. But people asking, Kenyans asking questions, how come after the adoption of some opposition members to parliament, there has been quelling, or it is now a go-slow on this protest? So there could be a few incidences of some maybe opposition political parties supporting the protests, but mostly there were real issues. And the big questions comes to, if there were goons who are sponsoring or disrupting, causing havoc, why hasn't the government operation taken this matter seriously? Why haven't we seen prosecution and arrests of the goons, but we are just seeing the arrest of the protesters? So there seems to be a lack of accountability. We haven't seen the police who are using live bullets and caught on camera by the media shooting peaceful protesters. We haven't seen anything arraigned in court or being prosecuted. So Kenyans are still asking for this transparency and accountability, and they are not willing to just keep quiet. They'll continue advocating for better governance and accountability.
All right, then, alumnus of African Liberty Rights and Fellowship, Jamli Kogi, thank you for talking to us on World Now.